Tonight, we're talking about publishing art books with artist Ray Troll. This is Art in the Raw. It's great to see you, Ray. It's been maybe a year or so.
Time does fly when you're having fun, or time's fun when you're having flies, or something like that.
And so you're working on a book now.
Yes, doing this one with Clover Press out of San Diego, and they do graphic novels and Marvel comic stuff. And these newfangled publishers, they have this thing called a Kickstarter. It's been pretty cool. I'm pretty stunned by the reaction. It's a very different way for this old boomer to do a book.
The last day of the Kickstarter is
The 28th of August. I've done 10 books. So traditionally, you work on these books for maybe a few years. Well, a couple of these book projects took like 10 years. You finally finish it. You send it off to the publisher. You mail the hard drive or the slides back in the day, the manuscript. And then you wait half a year before it ever comes out. And then you're lucky to get a book signing or two or that kind of thing. And then you engage your public.
I was curious about that process.
I approached the publisher a couple years ago and met them face to face. I always believe in that. Just know who you're dealing with. And I clicked with Robbie, who's the head designer there, and just really like what he does with the books. They just look so wonderful. But it also helps that he's a fishing fanatic himself. He's a fish freak. And so we kind of bonded over that. He spends a lot of his spare time out fishing in the open ocean. I sent the hard drive down, just chock full of my stuff, hundreds, maybe even 1,000 images or something. And just let Robbie have at it because it's a visual book. It just said, "You strangled the darlings." I wanted to see what he would pick out. I really didn't want to give him any guidance. Here's the hard drive, some different categories, go. And I have a lot of categories. It's art, humor, paleo, fishing, natural history, just straight up goofy humor, surreal, so I'm all across the board, but the consistent thing is my weird taste,
Well, and it's kind of a retrospective book.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I keep saying it's a mid-career, but no, I'm going to be 70 and looking back now, it's been 40 years since I moved to Alaska in 1983. And, over that, it's 4 decades worth of stuff. And yeah, there's a certain, clarity that comes to you when you're looking back over your stuff. I've still got, if I'm lucky, I'll get another 10 years of productivity, maybe 15 ish, 20 would knock on wood, whatever. But I think unlike our musical compatriots out there who write all their good stuff in their 20s, and then after that, they never hit I don't know. I've often thought about that. Do you flat out run out of ideas?
Well, I recall in our last conversation, you had said something to the effect that there was not enough lifetimes to really explore all of your ideas. I don't foresee you running out of ideas.
No. Ideas or topics, directions to go in. But as you get older too, and you are nearer to the finish line, your time is limited. You want to make it worthwhile, So looking back and, calling through my work and working with a talented crew like the guys at Clover Press, it's interesting. I just had a whole rush of a bunch of ideas and I had a clear shot at time out in the studio and I did a bunch of new ones and I am squeezing them in at the last minute. Oh, wait, this is a good one.
That's cool to have such a span of time within one publication.
Yeah, but you start seeing these images that have become kind of iconic and, you don't want to be just stuck with the one iconic image, but in a way as the dust of history settles on you, you're going to be known for a handful of works.
Hard to know what those are.
It is hard to know there, but I have a pretty good inkling via the t-shirt market, which is kind of my platform in a way. That's been my everyman's art, put art on shirts. But I've got some bigger kind of epic mural paintings I've done I'm very proud of. There are some of the bigger canvases that do spread across a few pages and that kind of thing. So,
well, I'm looking forward to seeing the book. And speaking of the book, the cover image,
That's
um,
the icon.
I mean, that's the title of the book, right? I watched your interview with Clover Press the other day, and I believe you described that as your tombstone.
Yeah, my tombstone image. Yeah. Yeah. He spawned, he died. There it is. But I've heard myself introduced lots of times, this great troll. And people like, this is, you get, the spawn to you die guy. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it's probably the one. Something about it that just kind of summed up a lot of things.
When you originally created that image, what year was that ish?
1987.
Did you have any concept it
No,
been worn by rock and roll stars? It appeared in a movie. It just seems to have kind of taken on a life of its own.
it has been very good to me. And no, I didn't really have an idea how it would stick and be a perennial, as it were. But so it's still in print. And like I said, it kind of sums up the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, Alaska, in some ways. I think with most of my images, even the dumb jokes, there's something behind it, and I think maybe people can see that. So there's something behind an image like Spawn Till You Die. I'm comparing us to fish. I do tours kind of with my friends on the creek down here, and I do explain to them what's going on. These salmon are on a mission, and that is why they are fighting their way up that waterfall. And the creek is absolutely plugged right now, and they are on a one-way mission to get it done. And it's a one-way ticket to that party, and they've saved up their entire lives to be at that party. And it's about a week-long party, and then after that, they're spent. It's going on right now, and soon there'll be an aroma here in town that everyone will smell, and that is the smell of death. So yes, love and death, big themes. And they're both in, it's in that t-shirt. Eros and Thanatos.
Those are big themes.
Love and death. A lot of people have dealt with it over the years. No, I was first talking to Robbie and Hank down at Clover Press. We were talking about a 120 page book, but Robbie, as he kept going, I don't know if he's just trying to flatter me or something, but he said, there's so much good stuff here. Let's widen this book up. It's now 200 pages. And so it is going to be still portable, but yeah, it's going to be a big book, and just a couple of essays in the front, and then visuals, and no text. There's going to be titles to the pieces, but it's not like an academic study of it. It's just a romp through the stuff.
Have you worked with that publisher before, or is this a new relationship?
No, oddly enough, it came through one of my scientist friends, Kirk Johnson. He's out at the Smithsonian now. And there's this fellow by the name of Pete Von Schulle, whose stuff I've seen over the years. But Pete wants to do a museum exhibit, and he had mutual friends with Kirk, who's a paleontologist. And he had approached Kirk about just this idea of paintings of monsters. He did this really large mural, and it's a big accordion book that Clover Press had done. It's a history of cinematic monsters. And he just painted this whole big long thing, and it became this book. And somehow Kurt mentioned to Pete. Pete had seen my stuff. And anyways, it was a connection there. And I saw Pete's book of monsters, and Pete sent me an email. We did a little mutual, fanboy, like, oh, I love your stuff. Love your stuff. And then he mentioned to me, I think via an email, that, Clover Press might be a good fit. And then when I went to their website and saw some of the other artists and just what they're about, it seemed like, yeah, they do a lot of comics and historical comics like Terry and the Pirates and even Popeye collections and stuff like that, but also some just art books like Pete's. And then I saw Ricardo Delgado's, and he's a graphic artist that I absolutely love, and he works on movies and that kind of thing. He had done a book called The Age of Reptiles once that just blew me away, and it was just basically a graphic novel of dinosaurs. And Ricardo had just done a very elegant book with Clover Press called Dracula. It was Ricardo's version of Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. So anyways, I was like, I like these guys. I actually was on an epic road trip and stopped in and met with them. And that's when we clicked. So they said, let's do it. But it's been a couple years in the works, and So I would see rough drafts of it a little bit. And then like it's time to start the Kickstarter, and that's when it became really real. So it's very real now. And we're sprinting to the finish line. We set the bar kind of low with the Kickstarter, but even then, if there's something to worry about, I was really worried. Like, will we hit the mark? You know, it was a few $1,000, and then boom, and the first day we were way beyond it. So it's going well. And we're already funded at a certain level, but all those premiums are on there in there now. So I've actually thrown in things like original sketches, and now I'm going to throw in some more original sketches because people are just snapping those up. And then, so some of the preparatory sketches I do, but also the groovy dust jacket. And then the puzzle, we did a puzzle, and like people are just going ape shit over the puzzle. They want that puzzle, but you got to buy a book. So
So the last day of the Kickstarter is the 28th of August. So anybody who's watching before the 28th of August in the year 2023, will check out the Kickstarter. I was looking at it the other day. There's the base levels, the
book plates, and I'll sign a bunch of those. And the dust jacket, there's stickers, there's big oversized marks, and then, yeah, the puzzles, and then some originals too. So some sketches and that kind of thing. They're pretty cool sketches, so they went pretty fast, but I have a lot of sketches. So
well, what a cool way for somebody to get one of your sketches. It's not an offering that I typically see on your website. You can put your print in the book. You can frame it on the wall by your book. You can do whatever you want with your print once you buy it.
I've always been kind of Warholian, old Andy up in the sky now, but Andy in the factory, I loved how, you know, he was just cranking out art, but he was just doing products and that kind of thing too. And then Keith Haring, artists that were just doing products, Kenny Scharf. So it's putting your art in any kind of product. I've always enjoyed that. So I've actually gone into fabrics now, which is a sideline. I finally did a bunch of stuff on Spoonflower. So I've got a whole new line of these fabrics I've been doing. So if you go to my website, you'll see that. Do you know about Spoonflower?
No, I was going to say I'd been following the fabric.
I used them many years ago, a decade or so ago, on some exhibits. We had some fabric printed, but basically you can upload your artwork and make it a repeating design and offer it to the world. And basically they can print it on different kinds of fabrics, but they also manufacture things like they can do placemats and things like table runners and tablecloths, and they pay you a royalty. Then you can order the fabric yourself and have it made into stuff. It's almost like an Etsy shop or whatever. You can have your little shop there. So if you go to spoonflower.com, punch in my name, or go to my website and check it out. And I've been doing these pattern drawings for many, many years. In fact, I've got one right here. And I'd always wanted to do a button-up shirt. And this is the evolution of life all on one shirt. And I've done that for an exhibit years ago, but now this is one of the patterns that's in the Spoonflower line. And so quilters have been getting the stuff, but also people have been buying it and making it into shirts and that kind of thing. But the beauty of it is that, yeah, you earn a royalty, and it's a pretty decent thing. They're selling it at a retail price, so it's hard to like get a bolt of fabric and be selling bolts of fabric, but there's ways to go around that. It's a cool thing. So yeah, just go check it out. You'll really dig it. It's another income stream. I think as an artist, I learned this a long time ago. I'm just creating all the time. I draw and I paint, but monetizing that, and not in super expensive ways, and making it affordable for the average guy. You know, not everybody can afford a, $5,000 painting. Why not do your art on these other media? But also, if you get these little income streams here and there, basically licensing, royalties, that kind of thing, you can cobble together a living. So the t-shirts, the books, the exhibits, and now I added this. It took a long time to get all the fabric patterns together, but I've got like maybe almost 20 patterns, but I think mine are kind of different than just the typical repeating kind of patterns. There's science behind them. So there's salmon life cycles, there's the evolution of life, there's Paleozoic life. There's ammonites, there's trilobites, there's Jurassic dinosaurs and Cretaceous dinosaurs. And then there's just skulls.
I also heard that you were working on another book as well that was another road trip book,
Yeah,
uh, not necessarily for kids, but I
it is all ages, but it's targeted to kids. But yeah, I haven't inked the deal yet. Still kind of going back and forth, but there's a publisher that wants to do a fossil roadmap atlas for the entire United States. And it's going to take a few years to do that one. So yeah, like I said, as we get older, I get like, what am I doing the next 10 years? I think I'm going to have a couple of years of working on that, but it'll be fun because it will necessitate fun road trips with a paleontologist. Kirk is going to work with the troll again. So if it all comes to be, knock on wood.
that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize about book publishing, but they usually take quite a few years, many, many years. I get asked often, do I need a book? No, you don't need a book. Books are great. I love books. I have a book collection, but unless you're really driven to want to do the book, it is a major endeavor. So you need to want to be into that for years of your life.
Yeah, I've had a couple of books that have taken 10 years to do, but they've been fun to do. But I'm doing other things as I'm working on them. I think it's a great way to have a focused body of work, right?
Okay.
So I did a shark alphabet book and I drew nothing but sharks in alphabetical order, A to Z. But it was an idea that I pitched and it took me a year to do it, but I enjoyed it. Did a few other things as I was working on it, but it's a good focused body of work and another income stream. So yeah, I really do believe in books. Actually, I just signed another book contract. So I got a few books in the works. And this one is it's a body of work that I had stacked up from a mural project. And I knew that there was a book there. And I approached an author to kind of help write some words to tie this all together. And we got a book contract. So it's a deal now. She is the author. She has found a story thread through this big pile of art. But on the contract, for the first time ever, at the end of it, there was an agreement there that I wouldn't use an AI.
Wait, there was an agreement that you wouldn't?
It's in the contract. It was in the contract that they wouldn't use an AI. I wouldn't use an AI with them. Something to that effect. That basically I wasn't going to just talk to my computer and have that generate. The AI is a major thing rippling through the world right now.
Oh, definitely. I had not
Um,
heard about it in that context, though, that it would be.
no, it's the first time I've seen it in the contract. Like, okay, I'm not going to have
So,
my computer do the homework for me. Colleges and schools everywhere are going to be faced with this, you know. Basically, you don't need that dog to eat your homework anymore. Chat GBT will do your homework and or your artwork and or your music. That's a slippery slope. I purposely have left my studio is analog only and no computers out there. I do have my cell phone out there to look at stuff, but when I go out to my studio across the driveway, that is only analog. I don't stream music out there. I have a lifetime's worth of albums and CDs and cassettes and just my pencils, pens, paper, canvas, paint. And that was just a pact I made to myself a long time ago. And in here, it's computer land here at the house in my little kitchen studio.
right. So there are digital components to your work, but you
Yeah.
divide. And I was actually wondering earlier today, what does Rachel think about AI? Because unless you're living under a rock right now, it's hard to avoid that subject.
Yeah. Adapt or die. That's what evolution is all about. But I think it was 2 years ago, there were those people that were first experiencing AI. And I had one of my super fans called me up and said, "Hey, man, you've got to check this out." Basically, he was having the AI doing me. And would I mind if he was to feed some of my imagery into his AI, you know, garbage disposal, whatever. And I remember I put him on speakerphone as I was driving and I was like, what? No, 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 don't stop, you know?
Yeah.
And I've had some friends who've gone way deep into AI and artist friends too, that were interested in robotics and all along they've been interested in robotics since the 70s, and so conceptually they were into it and they went way deep into it, but I only do a certain amount of digital stuff to begin with. And I've come to rely on my friend Grace Freeman to do a lot of the digital coloring on my pen and inks, just because when it comes really down to the pixels and staring at a computer screen, it's just a different world, and I'm not as comfortable with it as I am out in analog land.
It's a different experience.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It hurts your eyes, really, because what I'm looking at right now is actually, moving pixels all the time. So you may not be aware of it, but your eyes are working overtime.
I don't think this AI thing's going anywhere anytime soon. That's going to disrupt everything.
Screenwriters are on strike now. One of the reasons is AI. It can write scripts, but then when you have a lot of major computer folks in the world warning us that it could be the end of civilization, well, that's kind of something you ought to pay attention to. Weapons systems. We've all seen these movies, and when you unleash a machine to just kill anything that's moving, that is its mission. Yeah, there's scenarios that start playing out like, oh crap, fake news stories and all that. So
Well, what AI is definitely missing is human consciousness. To recap real quick, anybody's watching this post Kickstarter, the book should still be available. What is the distribution network?
we'll have it on our web store, but it'll be available in all the book outlets, Amazon, and preferably your local bookstore and or your graphic comic book store. Spawn Do You Die, The Thin Art of Ray Troll, 200-page. It's a hardback deluxe art book. It's my life all in one place. You can buy a bundle of them, almost get them at wholesale if you buy a bunch in the Kickstarter. It is coming out close to Christmas. Just saying.
Yeah, great gift. So,
Yeah.
so
Capitalism and art and capitalism, love and money, all that stuff.
well, hey, you are an artist. That is your profession. And
We make a living doing it. And I hope to be out your way. We're opening up another front in Kansas, of all things, my wife and I. Prairie Sea Gallery in Lindsborg, Kansas, where I went to college. There's 4 art museums in a town of 3,700. And we are closing down our brick and mortar retail store up here in Ketchikan at the end of this year. That's kind of news to the world there, but we did announce that locally here. Still going to do online stuff. I still have a presence all throughout the Northwest and, wholesaling. There will be a really cool thing happening in their space that we have here in Ketchikan, and there'll be some continuity there. My stuff will still be in there, but it's not going to be our store. But also, after 40 years here, we're going to split our residence a little bit and open a pretty cool gallery in Kansas. But anyways, I'm warning you, Ann, you'll be within striking distance.
what is the largest city in Kansas near the gallery?
Wichita. We're
Okay.
north of Wichita, south of Lawrence.
Well, I do
Um,
have family in Kansas City.
right on the way. You're on I-70 headed that way. Just take a right turn on I-35 and there's Lindsborg, Little Sweden, USA. It's an arty little town. So I love the Midwest. I love the West, so it's going to be cool. It's a really cool old building we're able to afford. I'm going to be a Alaskan or Alaskan, something like that. But anyways, thank
So
you for having me on your show and thanks for promoting the book.
before I let you go, if you could have any superpower, what would you pick?
I want to fly, because I don't know. Do you have flying dreams?
Occasionally, yeah.
I do too, and how cool it'd be to just be walking down the street and then, you know, and I've established a relationship with some of the birds here in this town. I've got ravens that I know that, say hello to me. There's 2 of them just live right over here and be cool because I see them way up high. It's like, I want to go up there with them. I didn't see that one coming in.
Had to throw
I
that
like
in.
it. Well, in
Um,
my podcast at the very end, I asked the question, what if you could go back in time into deep time where, what period would you go to? What epoch, what delicious, Paleozoic or Paleolithic period would you want to go to? And so we spring that our guests all the time. And it's always interesting to see what they come with. That's my Paleo Nerds podcast.
that's randomly a question I usually ask as well. But
Yeah.
coming up with a new one for you this time. You're still doing that, right?
Oh, yeah. There's one coming up with a really great artist, John Gertchie, one of my art heroes, artist and scientist. He sculpts, he gives us a glimpse into ancient humans and how we came to be. And he's a scientist too, really, and an artist, extraordinary guy. Super excited to share that one. So yeah, that's a Paleo Nerds. It's really fun, just like you're doing. Just go find some interesting people and talk to them and throw it out there in the world.
Thanks for watching Art in the Raw. If you'd like to learn more about Ray Troll, you can watch our first conversation. I'll include a link above, or maybe it's over there. At any rate, it'll also be in the description below, along with a link to the Kickstarter. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Ann Kelly.